They're watching you, not to harm you, but because something divine is unfolding in your life. You feel it, don't you? Like your every step is being observed, like your silence echoes in the spirit realm. You're not crazy. You're not imagining it. You're being monitored, but not by the enemy, by heaven itself. Chosen one, you've been under divine surveillance since the day you were born. Not because you're weak, not because you're in danger, but because you carry something sacred, a blueprint designed before time began. Angels have been assigned to you, not just to protect you, but to record you. Every test you've passed in silence, every tear you've shed in obedience, every sacrifice no one saw, they did. And it's being written in the scrolls of your destiny. You thought no one noticed. You thought your struggle was invisible. But let me tell you, heaven has been watching every single moment. And what you didn't know is that you've been passing tests meant to qualify you for something bigger than you can imagine. That's why it's been so hard. That's why people have left you. That's why it's felt like you've been walking through fire, because you have. You're not being punished. You're being proven. The enemy wants you to think it's all random. That the isolation, the betrayal, the sudden shifts, the delays are just unfortunate luck. But no, it's strategy, a divine one. Because what's coming into your life requires spiritual clearance. God isn't going to elevate someone he hasn't refined. So, your life became the furnace, and you became the gold. But here's the part that nobody talks about. The surveillance isn't just angelic. The enemy is watching too. And the reason you feel so monitored is because both heaven and hell are paying attention to you. You're walking a path so rare, so impactful, that both sides want to know what you'll do next. Will you break, or will you rise? And when you choose righteousness, when you choose faith, even in the dark, you send shockwaves through the spirit realm. You've been waking up with this sense of urgency. You've been feeling watched, sensitive, even anxious in rooms you used to feel comfortable in. That's because your frequency is rising, and it's triggering every spirit, both divine and demonic, within your vicinity. But you don't need to be afraid. You see, being watched by heaven isn't surveillance for punishment. It's documentation for reward. You're being evaluated for elevation. The silence, it's the exam room. The struggle, it's the qualifying process. And the pain, that's the resistance needed to birth power. When a chosen one is on the verge of stepping into divine purpose, the atmosphere shifts. Everything becomes spiritual. Conversations, dreams, timing, even delays. Nothing is random anymore. That's where you are. And maybe you've felt the tension lately. Like something big is about to happen. Like something unseen is either about to break through or break loose. That's not anxiety. That's prophetic sensitivity. Your soul knows that the watchers are recording. And not just recording, they're reporting. Heaven is watching to confirm your faithfulness. Because with that confirmation comes promotion. This is why your character matters more than ever. This is why God keeps pulling you away from drama, distractions, and noise. Because you're being positioned for something sacred, and anything that disturbs your peace is too expensive to entertain. You've felt the withdrawal, the urge to isolate, the pull away from old habits, old people, old desires. That's not depression. That's divine separation. Because when God monitors someone, He doesn't just look at their actions. He studies their intentions. He listens to your heart. He weighs your motives. And when He finds them pure, He opens doors no man can shut. So if things have been quiet, if you've been hidden, it's because you're being studied for strategic release. God hides His most valuable vessels until the time is right. That's why people overlook you. That's why opportunities passed you by. That's why you've been misunderstood. Because heaven has been working in secret, and so have you. But the time of revealing is near. The records are nearly complete, and what's being written about you will shock even your enemies. Because while they thought you were losing, You were being documented for the greatest promotion of your life. And when heaven approves you, nothing in hell can deny you. So don't fear the monitoring. Don't resist the pressure. Don't question why things haven't moved yet. It's because the final chapter of your testing is happening now, and the cameras are still rolling. You're not just being monitored. You're being measured. Your responses, your resilience, your reliance on God, all of it is being observed with divine precision. Because soon, what's been happening in private will burst into public. The ones who overlooked you will ask how you got here. They won't understand the cost. They won't see the nights you cried. They won't hear the prayers you whispered when you were completely alone. But heaven recorded it all. And this is what you need to remember, chosen one. Nothing you've endured will be wasted. Every rejection was recorded. Every betrayal was calculated. Every silent test you passed was confirmation of your spiritual maturity. You didn't even know it, but your consistency under pressure was making angels stand still in awe. You were showing the universe what obedience looks like. You were showing demons that your loyalty cannot be bought. And you were showing God that no matter how confusing the process, your faith in Him was immovable. That's what this surveillance has been about. Not punishment, not paranoia, but preparation. You see, God will never give a throne to someone who hasn't been tested in the shadows, and He will never release favor over a soul that hasn't proven it can carry responsibility without corruption. And you've been passing the tests in silence. You forgave when no one said sorry. You gave when you had little. You kept believing even when your prayers weren't answered right away. That's why they couldn't stop you. That's why the enemy's attacks failed. Because your strength didn't come from man. It came from the one who monitors the heart, not just behavior. And what the enemy didn't realize is that the pressure he placed on your life only proved to heaven that you're trustworthy. Trustworthy with influence. Trustworthy with blessings. Trustworthy with divine assignments. You've been under surveillance for a season, but what's coming is going to shift the entire reason for the monitoring. No longer to test you, now to protect you. Because when God reveals you, when He unveils the anointing you carry, you will become a threat. A threat to darkness, a threat to systems, a threat to lies, to fear, to anything not aligned with the truth. That's why God has been keeping you under watch. Because you are a divine weapon, a vessel of truth. And those don't just walk into battle, they're deployed with timing. And your time is near. But before you're released into purpose, there's one last thing to understand. You must become comfortable being seen, even when you don't feel ready. Because when God lifts the veil, people will look at you differently. You'll be misunderstood. You'll be admired and attacked. You'll carry weight, both spiritual and emotional, that others can't understand. But you've been prepared in secret for this. The surveillance was never for your shame. It was always for your protection. Because heaven needed to make sure you wouldn't use your calling for ego. That you wouldn't lose your humility in the face of influence. That you wouldn't trade truth for applause. And you haven't. You've stayed low. You've stayed hidden. You've stayed hungry for God's will, not man's validation. So now, heaven is ready to lift the covering. And here's the divine reversal. The same people who ignored you while you were being monitored will soon witness you being magnified. Not because of pride, not because of self-promotion, but because when God decides to shine His light on someone, no one can dim it. You didn't climb the ladder. You were raised by obedience, elevated by endurance, promoted by purity. And now you walk with authority. Not the kind you see in loud voices or big crowds, but the quiet authority of someone who knows they are covered, backed, and sent by the Most High. So don't fear the surveillance. Don't get anxious because you feel watched. Rejoice. Because if they're watching, it means you matter. If demons are observing, it means you're a threat. If angels are writing, it means you're fulfilling prophecy. If God is quiet, it means He's studying your response, preparing to reward you. And when that reward comes, it will be public. It will be undeniable. and it will be impossible to explain without saying, "That had to be God." Chosen one, you've made it through the shadows. Now heaven is about to shift the spotlight. And all those silent yeses, all those invisible sacrifices, they were never forgotten. They were documented. They were seen. And they are the very reason you're about to walk into divine compensation. You were monitored because you were marked. Marked for purpose. Marked for greatness. Marked by heaven. And no one can unmark what God has sealed. So walk boldly now. Stand tall. And know this truth. You were never alone. You were being watched by the one who planned your victory from the start. And now, he's about to show the world why he chose you.